I don't rent out my cabin anymore. Not after what happened. It was supposed to be an easy side gig. List the place, take bookings, and let guests enjoy their stay. No personal interactions, no face-to-face meetings, just a few text messages, back and forth. That's how I liked it. Simple. Then came Mark Green. He booked the cabin for a single night. No special requests, no questions, just a short, polite message, looking forward to my stay. It wasn't until midnight that my phone buzzed. Hey, the power just went out. Can you check the fuse box? A sinking feeling settled in my gut. The cabin was miles away, deep in the woods, near Blackwater Lake. There was no reason for the power to go out unless the breaker had been tripped, or worse, unless someone had shut it off. I hesitated. Couldn't it wait until morning? Then another message. It's completely dark. I can't see anything. I sighed, grabbed my keys, and got in the truck. The drive out was quiet, but not peaceful. The kind of silence that presses against your ears like the whole world is holding its breath. I reached the cabin in under 20 minutes. The place stood in absolute darkness, the windows black voids. My headlights cut through the trees, illuminating the front door, but there was no sign of Mark. No movement inside. I stepped out, gravel crunching under my boots. Mark? My voice barely carried past the trees. Nothing. I sent him a message. I'm here, where are you, delivered. No response. A tightness wrapped around my chest. I should have left, but instead I punched in the key code and stepped inside. The air was wrong. Cold. Heavy. The furniture was off kilter, like someone had moved it but hadn't bothered to put it back. A chair was pulled just slightly away from the table. The throw. Blanket on the couch was half on the floor. Little things, but they set off alarms in my head. I flicked on my flashlight and made my way to the basement door. The power box was down there. I pulled it open, the hinges groaning loud in the silence, and started down. Then I smelled it. A deep, rotting stench, like meat left in the sun. My flashlight beam shook as I reached the bottom. The breaker panel was closed. I flipped it open with a trembling hand. All the switches were on. The power had never gone out. The hairs on my neck rose. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Coming down the basement stairs, slow, measured, not one person. 3. My breath stopped. I turned, the flashlight cutting through the dark. They stood at the bottom of the stairs. 3 men, unmoving, silent. The one in front was Mark, or at least the man I had spoken to. But his voice, when he finally spoke, was different, deeper. Wrong? Did you fix it? My throat locked. I couldn't move, couldn't think. Behind him, one of the others shifted, and the light caught something at his side. Not a gun, something worse. A hook, rusted, jagged. I swallowed, forcing my voice steady. It's working now, just a small issue. Silence. They just stood there, watching. I took a step forward. The man with the hook tilted his head just slightly. My stomach turned. I stepped around them, heart pounding so hard it made me lightheaded. I expected them to stop me, grab me, but they didn't. I walked up the stairs, each step agonizingly, slow. My pulse hammered in my ears. The second I reached the top, I slammed the basement door shut and bolted for the front door. No footsteps followed. I got in my truck, hands shaking as I shoved the key into the ignition. I threw it into reverse, my headlights sweeping over the cabin, and the basement door was open again, wide open. They were watching me. I tore out of there, drove so fast I nearly went off the road. When I finally got home, I locked every door, every window. I sat awake until morning, waiting for something to happen, but nothing did. The next day, I called the police. They went to the cabin, found nothing. No Mark Green, no 3 men. No signs that anyone had ever been there at all. The police officer, Officer Lane, looked at me like I was crazy. Are you sure someone booked the place? I opened the app. Mark Green's reservation was gone. No record of his stay, no messages, like he never existed. That's when I remembered the smell, the rotting smell in the basement. I asked them to check. They hesitated but agreed. An hour later, they called me back. "You should come down here," Officer Lane said. His voice was different now. I drove to the cabin, my heart in my throat. When I arrived, they were pulling something out from under the basement floorboards. A body, rotting, decomposed, months old. And when they checked dental records, they found a match. Jacob Hale, a guest who had booked my cabin a month ago. A guest who had disappeared. I stopped renting the cabin after that. But a few days later, a text came from an unknown number. "We'll try again soon." I needed a break. A quiet escape from the constant noise of the city, the never-ending emails, and the suffocating routine of my life. Bridgemont seemed like the perfect place. Small, secluded, and peaceful. I booked a rental house on the edge of town, surrounded by nothing but open fields and distant tree lines. The pictures showed a cozy, modern interior with a large kitchen, a fireplace, and a wraparound porch. The reviews were good. Mrs. Harper, the host, was described as kind, if a little old-fashioned. I arrived just before dusk. The drive had been long and my eyes burned from staring at the road for hours. The house was beautiful, just like the pictures, but something about it felt off. It wasn't anything obvious, no eerie shadows or strange noises, just an unnatural stillness, like a stage set waiting for actors to arrive. Mrs. Harper had left the keys under a potted plant by the door. When I stepped inside, the air smelled faintly of cleaning products and something else. Something old. The house was too clean. There were no personal touches, no books, no pictures, no signs that anyone had ever truly lived here. Just furniture, arranged neatly like it had never been used, but I ignored it. I was tired. I unpacked, made myself a quick dinner, and settled on the couch with a book. The silence was nice, comforting even. I fell asleep without realizing it. I woke up to the sound of wind. Or at least, that's what I thought at first. My eyes adjusted to the dim room. The front door was wide open. My heart slammed against my ribs. I was sure I had locked it. I always lock doors. I sat up, scanning the darkened living room. The lamp on the side table was still on, casting long shadows. Nothing looked disturbed. No footprints on the floor. No sound. I grabbed the closest object, a fireplace poker, and crept toward the door. The air outside was crisp, still. I stepped out onto the porch and looked around. My car was untouched. The road was empty. No signs of anyone. I closed the door, locked it, and checked every room. Bathroom, kitchen, bedroom, empty. Maybe I had forgotten to lock it. Maybe the wind had pushed it open. It was an old house, after all. That's what I told myself. I went back to bed, but I didn't sleep well. I spent the next day hiking, exploring the tiny shops in town, trying to shake off the unease. By the time I got back to the house, I was exhausted. I double-checked the locks. Front door, windows, back door. Everything was secured. That night, I woke up again. Not to wind, to movement. A soft shuffling sound. From the other side of my bedroom door. Froze. My pulse roared in my ears. The sound was faint, like someone shifting their weight. Breathing. I reached for my phone, hands shaking. Then, footsteps. Fast. Whoever it was bolted down the hall. I heard the unmistakable sound of the front door creaking open. By the time I threw my door open and ran to the entrance, it was standing wide open again. The night was still, empty. I dialed 911 with trembling fingers. By the time the police arrived, there was no sign of forced entry. No footprints. No fingerprints. Nothing was missing. Mrs. Harper arrived soon after, a concerned expression on her wrinkled face. "No one else has the key," she assured me. "That's never happened before, that I know of." I asked about the house's history. She gave vague answers, dismissing my questions with a polite smile. But she wasn't surprised. Not really. I should have left. But I didn't. Maybe it was pride. Maybe I wanted to prove to myself that it was just my imagination, that I wasn't losing my mind. I pushed a chair against the front door, locked every window, placed my suitcase in front of the bedroom door as a barricade. That night, I didn't fall asleep easily. Every noise made my body tense. Every creak of the old house made my breath hitch, and then something changed. The air shifted. A presence. I knew without a doubt that someone was in the room with me. I couldn't hear breathing. I couldn't see movement. But I felt it. Slowly, carefully, I reached for my phone on the nightstand. It wasn't there. A wave of cold terror washed over me. I turned my head just slightly, just enough to see the nightstand. My phone was on the floor, face down, right beside my bed. Someone had moved it. I heard the softest shuffle near the doorway. I bolted upright and hit the light switch. The room was empty, but the suitcase barricade had been moved. I didn't think. I didn't grab my bags, I just ran. Through the hallway, past the empty living room, straight to my car. As I peeled out of the driveway, I looked back at the house. The front door was wide open, and in the darkened hallway, I saw a figure standing just inside, watching. I booked a hotel in the next town over. I barely slept, my mind replaying every moment, every sound, every movement. The next morning, I received a message from Mrs. Harper. "I'm so sorry about your stay. I understand why you left. Please don't worry, I've refunded you in full." I stared at my phone, fingers trembling, then I saw it. At the bottom of the message, one final sentence. "That's never happened before, that I know of." I never went back. But sometimes, late at night, I wonder, how long had they been there? And what would have happened if I had woken up just a little sooner? I'll never know who it was. A squatter? A stalker? Or something worse? But the part that keeps me awake isn't the fact that someone was inside the house. It's the fact that they weren't trying to hurt me. They were watching, waiting, and they had been there the whole time. I should have known something was wrong the moment I pulled up to the Airbnb. The house was exactly as described in the listing. A small, one-story cabin with an old-world charm, sitting on a patch of land in the middle of nowhere. The nearest town, Ashbrook, was about 20 minutes away, but from where I stood there was nothing but dense trees, an empty dirt road, and the creeping silence of a place long forgotten. I killed the engine and exhaled. It had been a long day of driving, and this place was supposed to be a quick overnight stop before I continued my road trip. I grabbed my bag from the trunk and walked up the steps, the wooden planks creaking under my weight. The house was older than it looked in the pictures, and as I unlocked the door and stepped inside, a chill ran through me. It smelled stale. Not like it was dirty, just like no one had been here for a while. The weak glow of a single ceiling light flickered as I dropped my bag onto the couch. The place was small, just a living room, kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom. No TV, no Wi-Fi, and according to my phone, almost no service. I checked the doors. The front door had a flimsy lock, and the back door was worse, just a simple latch. I told myself it was fine. I was just here for one night. I had no idea that was all it would take for things to go wrong. Sometime after 9 p.m., I was sitting on the couch, half asleep, when I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. I jerked awake. My heart slammed against my ribs. I turned toward the front door. The porch light was off. I could see nothing but darkness beyond the window. Then I heard them. Whispers. Two voices. Muffled. Cautious. Right outside my door. I swallowed hard and stood up, creeping toward the door. My breathing was too loud. My skin was prickling. "Hello?" I called out, my voice tight. A pause. Then, a man's voice. "Hey, sorry to bother you. We think there's been a mix-up. We booked this place for the night." I blinked. "What?" A second voice chimed in. "Yeah, We booked this Airbnb. The owner sent us the check-in info. Maybe there's been a double booking? I felt my stomach twist. Was that even possible? But something about them, their tone, their pauses, made my blood run cold. I forced my voice to stay firm. I have a confirmed reservation. You should call the owner and check. A pause. The first voice spoke again. Yeah, sure. 1 sec. I heard shuffling. Then, a soft clicking noise. My gut clenched. They were still there. Whispering. I took a slow step back, the hair on my arms standing on end. Something was wrong. Then, okay, the man called again. I just spoke to the owner. He said you should open up so we can sort this out. No. They were lying. I knew it then, with a certainty that made me sick. I had to get them away. My husband's in the shower, I said, forcing a casual laugh. Let me check with him first. Silence. A long, stretching, suffocating silence. Then, footsteps, moving away from the door. My breath shook. Had they bought it? I took a shaky step toward the window, just enough to peek through the curtain, and my blood turned to ice. There weren't just 2 of them. There were more. At least 6 figures, barely visible in the darkness, standing by the tree line. Watching, waiting. I stumbled back, my breath hitching. The whispers outside had stopped. The men were gone, or so I thought. I moved fast, grabbing my phone and locking myself in the bathroom. My hands trembled as I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? There are people outside my Airbnb, I whispered. They tried to trick me into opening the door. There are more of them. I don't know how many. Stay calm. Are your doors locked? Yes. We're sending a patrol to your location. Stay where you are. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. My hands clenched around the phone. Then, a soft creak, right outside the bathroom door. My stomach dropped. I squeezed my mouth shut. No. The front door hadn't made a sound. They were already inside. My pulse thundered in my ears. Through the thin bathroom door, I heard them. Moving footsteps, slow, deliberate cabinets opening, drawers sliding out. The creak of a floorboard right outside the bathroom. Then, a voice. So close I could hear the breath in it. She's in here. I clamped a hand over my mouth to stifle a whimper. The doorknob rattled. I squeezed my eyes shut. My mind was screaming at me to do something. But what then? Sirens, they were faint but growing louder. The intruders reacted instantly. Chaos. Rushed footsteps. Doors slamming. By the time I forced myself to move, the house had gone silent. They were gone. The police found my car windows shattered. My luggage was missing. Footprints surrounded the house. You're lucky, the officer told me, his face grim. We've had similar reports. They never hurt the victims. Just break in, steal what they can, and disappear. I nodded, but something didn't sit right. I was shaken, but I knew one thing for certain. They didn't just want to rob me. I saw the bathroom doorknob before I left, a single bloody handprint. They had planned to come in whether I let them or not. And worst of all, they had been waiting. Even now, months later, I wonder, what if I had opened the door?